Hi, I'm Jenny Ray LaRue, and I'm really excited to welcome someone today to Strategy Simplified, who was a strategic operations associate and a former summer intern at Kearney in Chicago. Charu, welcome so much to Strategy Simplified. We're excited to have you, and I would love for us to begin by having you share a 2-minute overview of your background and what brought you to Kearney in the first place.
Thank you so much, Jenny, first of all, for inviting me for this podcast. And I really feel privileged to represent my firm at this platform. I'm really honored by this gesture. So thank you so much, Jenny, for this. And I will just start with my background. You already know my name. My name is Charu Goyal. I come from India. I did my undergrad in mechanical engineering and then went on to work with an Indian automotive firm for close to 5 years. I think there was just one moment where I decided that, I just want to go outside of India, do my MBA, explore the global world, and decided on doing my MBA, shortlisted schools based on their operations expertise. So CMU obviously ranked higher in that list. Applied to some of the schools with operations expertise, got shortlisted at CMU, had lovely years at CMU in the last 2 years, completed my MBA this May, and joined the firm 4 months back at Kearney. And it has been wonderful 4 months at Kearney as Strategic Operations Associate in the Chicago office. And adding to that fact, you already mentioned that I interned here last summer. And again, they were beautiful 10 weeks in Chicago summer as well as at the firm.
I can't wait to hear more about it. So we'll dive into your experience. To get to know your story a little bit more, you mentioned your time as an engineer before leaving India to get an MBA. So I get the global perspective, but you mentioned there was a moment. Can you take us to the moment where you were like, this is what I have to do, this is the change that I need to make, and how you knew what the change was? Was it a research process? Was it a network? Was it a conversation? Tell me just a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, I think I have always been a very self-motivated person. Whatever decisions I've made in my life have been on my own. My parents have backed me on those, but they have majorly been made by me. So I think 2 years into working after my undergrad, there was this one day I was just thinking that, what from now on, what exactly is it that I want to do? Is it that I want to pursue the same thing in the same company, a different company maybe, or just get out of my comfort zone? Because by that time, I was already in a very comfortable environment. I was doing a lot of great things. People were praising me, but what after this? And a conversation that I used to have with my dad was that, one day either I'll have my own company or I will be in the C-suite of a very big company. So I was like, what is it that I need to do towards that goal? And I think MBA at that time just felt the right fit as the next step. And then I started researching more about it, talked to a lot of friends who were either in the process or who were going to take that going ahead with that process. And I think it was that conversation which convinced me that maybe this is the right step. Let me give my GMAT and see how things unfold. And when COVID happened, that actually gave me a lot of time to talk to a lot of people in B schools as well as people who are already working in the industry after MBA. So that exposure was the best, I think, I got with respect to MBA.
Now, you also mentioned that you wanted to get a global perspective and you came to the US. What was your most valuable resource or encouragement along the way that helped you navigate what is often a difficult transition to the US from an international environment?
For me, it was that when I was working in India, I was working with a lot of global companies, and often it was very difficult to engage with different global counterparts, because of the culture or because of different nuances or how people perceive. And I think that was a point where I decided, I need to go to another country get out of this comfort zone that I've built around myself. I've already gotten so much exposures with the people that I'm working with. Let me see how it is in a global setup. And for me, the main motivation was English-speaking countries that I was looking forward to, because English was a global language that I knew. And UK, US were some of the shortlists that I had, and I applied to schools in these two countries.
Love it. Now let's talk about landing the summer MBA internship, the holy grail of the MBA experience, right?
Yes.
And obviously a huge transition point for you. What's one thing that you did during recruiting that really played an outsized role in receiving the offer from Kearney?
It was, I think I would owe it to a very targeted networking that I did with Kearney. I did not go by, how many coffee chats I had, or I did not go by the quantity aspect of it. It was more around quality. So I'm a Forte fellow. I can explain on that what exactly it is. So Forte Foundation, it's a non-profit, and they help women candidates who are transitioning into business. So my school, CMU, they provided me with the Forte Fellowship. It's a kind of a scholarship. And as a part of that, I got to be a part of Forte Leadership Conference in June 2021, which was way before my MBA actually started. And at that point, honestly, I did not even know what consultants do. And Kearney was the first company that reached out to me, in fact, that we are interested in your background, we are interested in your resume, whatever you have mentioned, we would like to have a chat with you. And that is how the conversation started. And I think the initial part was majorly getting to know what consulting is. And a lot of people helped me get to know that. And once I knew what consultants do, it was more around that I come from operations manufacturing background, and I want to bring in that expertise and build my career out of it. So I think it was just having very targeted conversations with people who come from that kind of background at Kearney. So I did not go by quantity at all, that I want to have 100 coffee chats or anything like that. I just went by the quality and what it is that I'm taking out of that conversation. Is it useful for me?
I love it. Well, I'm excited to hear a little bit more about your experience at Kearney. So walk us through the summer. How many projects did you work on? I'm guessing one, but in case it was more, highlight that. How large was your team? Tell me just a little bit about, what the work was that you actually did. Then we're going to talk about some of the fun stuff around it as well.
Definitely. So my internship was a 10-week internship. As a part of that, the first week went on with training around, and in that particular thing, we were given a live demo case just to walk through. Like, no one had done consulting before, so they wanted to acquaint us with what consulting is. So we were on a demo case, presented our solutions to the client team, or like the partner team at Kearney. After this 1 week was over, I was given a project. I started on the manufacturing work stream of the project, wherein I was required to go to the client site. It was a very remote site. We were there for almost 5 weeks, I would say. And it was about the client's problem, and it was around that they are getting X number of orders from the customers, but they're not able to fulfill it. So what they should do in order to fulfill those orders. So that was the client problem that we were working on. We spent almost 5 weeks on that at the client site. And then I moved on to another work stream for the same project. So it was more on product. So initially I got the manufacturing experience for 5 weeks, and the last 3 to 4 weeks I got more on the product. So Kearney has a Pearl lab. It's Product Excellence and Renewal Lab here in Chicago. So what the next generation product of the client would look like, what improvements they can do against the competitors. So I worked on that space. So entirely different experiences, manufacturing versus product, but all into one internship experience. So I think it was great.
Love it. Amazing. Okay. So what I want to know about now is just a little bit about how you knew, Kearney is an amazing firm. So for some people, they'll say that, this should be obvious. It was super easy. It was very transparent. But But for you, I mean, how did you know? Was there a moment in your summer that you thought, this is where I want to spend the next stage in my career? And if so, what was that moment?
Okay, I have actually a story to tell you about it. We know like consulting is really demanding career. We all know that fact, right? So there was this one day I was in the Kearney office, and for me it is that I normally have my lunch, dinner, etc. whenever I'm hungry, and I was having my late lunch or early dinner at around 4:30 p.m. that day, and a random colleague, which like I did not know him at all, and he comes and he's like, why are you having your lunch at this time? I'm like, I'm just having because I'm hungry now. And he actually thought that it's because of the workload or the pressure that I have from the work that I'm having it at that time. And he was really concerned, like a random colleague who was concerned about my well-being. And for the next whole week, he actually made sure that I'm eating on time. I'm my well-being is in place. So a random colleague doing that just showed that it's not, generosity is not just a value that Kearney speaks of. It is embedded in every colleague that is a part of Kearney, and it's not just said that you need work-life balance. It's actually there in every person in Kearney.
That's amazing. Well, you talked about the project. You talked about this moment. Let's go into the middle. Tell us about a day. So walk us through a typical day. It's always so hard to answer, but just like maybe just a vivid day, right? Like a day that kind of represented the work that you did well at when you were at the firm. What were you doing? Who was telling you to do it? Was it self-directed or manager directed? How much of it was meetings? How much of it was solo? Just give us a little bit of color on the makeup, right? The makeup of a life is minutes. So give us some of those minutes that help to illustrate what it's like at Kearney.
Definitely. So I can tell you about my time at the client site last year during my internship. So it used to start with us, just waking up really early because we had to go as per the client manufacturing shift structure. So we were at the client side by 7:30 a.m., I would say. It was really early. And then it used to start with setting the expectations for the day. So a lot of team meetings and client meetings used to happen in the half of the day. What is it that we are trying to get done in that particular day? And what are the client inputs that we need? So till 12 p.m., we'll go through our internal meetings, set up agendas for the day, talk to the client, get their inputs, get their buy-in on whatever we are doing for the day. And after 12 p.m., it was more individual contribution, I would say. So 12 to 5, I used to focus more on individually. I used to be on the shop floor analyzing different areas that we can work on the client problem for. And then analyzing, coming back to my laptop, my workstation, analyzing that in Excel or whatever tools we used, presenting those solutions or that analysis to my manager at the time. On like we used to have, we have this thing called storyboarding, where we present the entire problem. From this problem, we are coming to this analysis, then we are going to the solution. So this entire storyboarding process is there at Kearney. And that is how we work. Like we don't start in presentations or Excels immediately. We just made what the entire story is and what is it that we are actually trying to solve. So in that format, just getting a dialogue with my manager, is it correct what I'm thinking? Is it the correct analysis? Do you think this will work for the client? And once we have those points figured out for the day, then just conveying them to the client. Since we were at the client side, we used to have very active feedback and dialogue with the client. And I think that was more of a wrap up to the day once we had our final client meeting, final internal meeting on what we achieved in a day. And I think just spending one more hour before I wrapped up finally to see what deliverables are there for the next day. What can I do to, just progress in my work? So that was, I would say, first half of the day, more meetings, next half of the day, more individual contribution, and then wrapping up the day again with the team and the client.
Amazing. I think that helps give the illustration of how much, when people say we need you to be able to work in teams, For some people, that means I need you to meet with once a month with the team and not work in a silo. And for some people, that means that you sit with your team the whole day. And you're describing that blend in a really beautiful way. So thank you so much for sharing a little bit about that. Okay. So next question, I think ultimately when we're thinking about Kearney, about your opportunity, and then you go for the summer, the natural thing is to try to get an offer, but not everybody wants it. So you also have to make a decision of, how to work for the offer, but then when you get it, whether you want to go back. So can you tell us a story about your decision process of deciding to go back to Kearney full time?
Okay, honestly, I'll tell you, there was no process. The day I got my internship offer, I signed my offer the very next day for internship, and the day I got my full-time offer, and as soon as my the electronic copy of my offer was available, I signed it because I was so sure about the firm. And there were a few reasons. I would say one, definitely around people aspect, I think, is the best. They know, like, the teams that you work in, they know boundaries to work-life balance. They know if there are priorities personally that needs to be taken care of, and people are actually concerned about the well-being of their teammates. So a lot of that aspect. Next, I would say, was my mentor from the internship. She was a great resource. When I began my internship, I was like, these are the areas where I lack. These are the areas which are my strong suit. How do you think I should utilize this internship opportunity to just progress in these areas? Because I want something out of this internship and not just the money. So she helped me, we connected every week. So this people aspect, that people are there to take care of me. And in case I struggle, they would be there to help me out. So this was one big piece. The next was the staffing model of Kearney. So I can be anywhere in the US, and they're very flexible about the location. My project allocation would not depend on my location. So that's a very big plus for me. When I was doing my internship, I had people from all over the world. I would say the one partner was from UK, my manager from US, I from India, an analyst from China, another associate from Mexico. So you can see diversity in the entire team. And because of the staffing model that Kearney has, that diversity is naturally available in any project that you do, I would say. So I think these were some of the points. And obviously, Kearney has strong presence in operations, supply chain projects that Kearney does across the client base, and my interest in that area. So these were a few reasons that drew me back to the firm.
What about any specific skills? You worked in automotive, you worked internally, and then now you're in consulting. What's different about it? What is something unique to consulting that it gives you? So you talked a lot about what the firm offered, what you gave the firm in terms of the work that you did, but what does the firm give you? What kind of training is it that's unusual? What kind of thought process is different? What are you learning there that you couldn't learn somewhere else?
For me personally, it's the communication part. You are in consulting, you are talking to different people at different levels. In your internal team, you have people from analyst to partner level. At the client side, you have people from a shop floor operator to maybe a C-suite executive. So I think communication is something, and how to cater the communication to different people that you talk to. That's the biggest piece and an underrated skill that consulting can teach you, I would say. I am more of a borderline introvert, I would say, and consulting is really helping me improve my communication skill and also cater it to the person I'm talking to.
I love that. Now I just want to move into a few final questions about, the summer associate application deadline, a few of the things where you get a chance to be a spokesperson now for Kearney as one of their full-time members. So the summer associate application deadline for first-year MBAs is December 1st, 2023. You talked a little bit about your very targeted networking process, but you're going to be on the other side of it this year. People are going to be reaching out to you. So what's one networking and one resume tip that you can offer to prospective candidates that have an interest in working at Kearney?
For resume, I would say that a lot of times people, when they're putting different skills on their resume and they're trying to put that, what activity they did that demonstrates that skill, we tend to, and this is one mistake that I've also done early during my MBA journey, that we tend to put a lot of big numbers. I was a part of project where I saved 5 million, 1 billion, I don't know, like so many numbers we try to put, even if they're not there. Don't try that. My final resume that I submitted for different firms, it was very different from the first one, and it basically highlighted what skills are there that I'm bringing, and what are the activities that I did. It may or may not have those numbers, but they clearly illustrated that I have those skills in order to be successful at a consulting firm. So this is one mistake that I've seen a lot of people do, and I have done the same. So just refrain from putting a lot of big numbers in your resume. And with respect to networking, again, I would say that do a very targeted networking. Just see, if you are going to consulting, what is it that you are trying to get out of consulting. You are just exploring, you are going as a generalist in consulting, not tying yourself to a particular function, practice, etc. Then just get to know from people and rely heavily on your alum network. My Tepper CMU alum network is the best. Like, I'm friends with most of them, and it all began from my networking journey for my internship. I'm a lot of friends with them at this moment, but it started with just having those deep connection and deep conversations with them. So do not just go by quantity again, go by quality of conversations and rely on your alum network. They are there to help you.
I love it. So the last question that I have before we move on to, of course, our fun questions are, if folks are looking at Kearney, they could obviously, it's in such an interesting space, because they could also be looking at MBB, but they could also be looking at even smaller boutiques or internal roles. So why should they not go if they have all of those choices? Why should they still choose Kearney? Why should they not go to MBB or not go to boutiques? What is it that makes Kearney special, different, and unique that you would really like to leave our listeners with today?
Sure. I think I'll wrap it up with very concise 2 or 3 points, just to provide a summary of whatever I said. Great people, very focused on your well-being, not just work, are there to help you grow, not just deliver to the clients. Second, a staffing models that supports your location choices, that supports a very diverse network of teams for client engagements. So these 2 points are majorly that have worked out for me. And if it is something that you really believe in, I would say that go for Kearney. And again, Kearney has a lot of other, like, we have a very diverse client base. All those things are obviously there. It's a great brand. Those things are obviously there. But for me, those were the personal reasons, people, the kind of staffing model. So if you think those are the things that matter to you, come to Kearney.
I love it. Amazing. All right. So I'm going to give you now, just to wrap it up and get to know you a little bit more, a few personal questions. So the first one is, what is your favorite memory from your internship? You shared a couple, share a different one.
Memory from internship. Okay. So I think I'll share the fun one. I've shared a lot of work-based ones. So we have, as a part of the internship, MBA internship, we have something called as LAF, Learn About the Firm event. It happened for me in New York last year. It was a 3-day event, 3-day event in New York. And it started with a conference like setup. We had people like partners, etc., from the firm, alums of the firm, and also clients of the firm, talking so much about the firm. And that's what, when people working at Kearney are speaking, it is obviously meant to be great. But when alums and clients are speaking highly of the firm, that means a lot. And it was followed by a lot of fun activities. We had a boat cruise, and with all the interns that joined with me, with partners, with clients, alums, etc. So I think the formal, informal part of this particular Learn About the Firm event, those 3 days were great.
Amazing. Love that. Okay, so second question. You captained your university's off-road ATV team for women. And who even are you? So, how did you get into off-roading ATVs? Can you share a highlight? Like, we just need to know more about this because this is badass to the extreme.
Okay, that was one golden period of my life, I would say. So I studied at my undergrad at an all-girls college, and it was like I had no idea what this ATV is or what exactly do they do. It was during my first year that I think it was just study and assignments etc. that I had. But I saw this one group of girls working in a workshop, all dirty. They were building something, and I did not know what they're working on. I just went and it was out of curiosity. I just asked, what is it that you're working on? It looks really cool. And they were like, okay, do you want to help us out? So I just assisted them for like 2 or 3 months until they went to compete nationally. And from there, that interest came, okay, let me just be a part of the team and explore what it is. But I think the moment for me was when I was a part of the team, the first night we drove the vehicle, like we switched it on, it got switched on, we ran the vehicle around the campus when no one was there, and that was like a baby is born, like that feeling was surreal. And then I went on to become the captain and mentor of the team in the subsequent years. And another feeling was that on a national level, when you have 150 teams from different colleges participating, you are the only women team over there. So that was a proud moment for us.
I love it so much. Okay, amazing. Well, last question. And, this is just really important for me because I've got lunch coming up and a lot of people, right? We eat 3 times a day, although you eat lunch at 4 o'clock. So I'm really confused by this. But what is your favorite Indian food? And also just like, how did it become your favorite? Is there somebody special to you that makes it? Like, what is your favorite Indian food? What's your go-to?
So in general, I just like Indian cuisine tops my list, Indian followed by Italian. But in terms of Indian, I just love desserts. I love desserts. I can just live on desserts if it if it was possible. So there's this one dessert that is made out of milk, rice, jaggery or sugar, etc., and a lot of dry fruits in it. It's called kheer, and I just love it. Like I can have it for all the meals. And I think it became my favorite probably because of my mom. She used to make it a lot when I was a child. And it was sort of a comfort food. Any festival, anything is there, she would make that particular dessert. So I think that that just became my comfort food. Even today, like there's no bad thing or stress that that particular cuisine, that particular dessert cannot solve. So it's the best dessert in the world, I would say.
I love it. Charu, you began by saying that in a conversation with your dad, you said, you'll be either running your own company or in the C-suite somewhere. How did you know that? Where did that self-confidence come from? I just want to end our conversation today by talking a little bit about the bigger picture. Where did that conversation start or come from? Because I've really never talked to somebody who had that same conversation with somebody close to them. So I'm curious about it.
So there's a story behind it. My family has been into business. Like the entire family, my cousins, everyone has been into business. No one has ever done a job or anything outside. So business was probably like in my blood since I was growing up. My dad was into business. There were a lot of conversations at home. So that particular environment was there to foster that feeling that, I want to do my own business or be there in the leading role for a business. So that feeling was always there. And in one moment, I remember having this conversation with my dad where he was like, it's time you should think about your marriage. And I was like, do you want me to marry a CEO or do you want me to be a CEO? So give me time. I need to go to be at that level and build my skill set, do my MBA, go for a career. So give me that time that, you can say that your daughter is a CEO. So it was probably just the environment that my dad provided because of his own business that inculcated that dream in me.
I love that. Do you think it's still on the pathway? Could it be a part of your
is.
future?
It is, definitely. And everything that I'm doing right now is a learning experience towards that.
Amazing. Well, we can't wait to watch your rocket as it, rises and shines. Thank you so much for joining today. Any final thoughts that we didn't get to cover that you would like to share with our audience before we sign off?
Since this podcast is targeted towards students who are in the application phase, I get it, how this entire phase is very stressful. I was there in your shoes just like a year before. Just calm down, take a step back, think about what you want to do, what you want out of your internship experience or from a particular firm that you're applying to. Kearney is a great place to work. If you ever want to know anything about the firm, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to any folks and they would be really happy to answer any questions around the firm. So just don't stress around this process, entire recruitment process. Go by it very calmly, and that would really help in the long run.
Charu, thank you so much for coming on today, for telling so many amazing stories about your time at Kearney. I really think that it will create an understanding and a resonance that didn't exist before for folks. And for everyone who's in the process of applying, we're excited to be a part of your journey. So thanks again for joining us. Really excited that you were able to come on.
Thank you so much, Jenny, for this opportunity. I really feel grateful to represent Kearney and this platform. Really thankful.